So first off, if anyone saw my recent M7 video, I said that Anycubic weren't responding to me, and I assumed that that was them being ignorant to promoting their machines. Turns out for some reason the emails from my contact that I've spoken to regularly for over a year were going into my spam in Gmail, so sorry Anycubic. But within days of me realising that and communicating again, I received this Mono 4, the 4 Ultra, and confirmation of getting the upcoming M7 Max, a printer that was leaked because you can see it in the latest beta version of Anycubic Photon Workshop. But this video is about the Mono 4, one which I'd love to say is the best beginner printer on the market. But as we're about to reprove a theory I've shared for a while regarding print quality, this is one that didn't actually need to exist in place of the much cheaper Mono 2. Hi, I'm Ross, and this is FauxHammer Videos. Now the Mono 4 is as entry level as they come. It's clearly designed to be a cheap, does the job printer, and it succeeds in that. So let's get into it. As usual, the unboxing is as simple as upending its cardboard prison and sliding it out. I know it's sad, but I do still get a kick out of this smiley foam too. Externally, I love the look of Anycubic machines, which have stepped into some more professional stylings. And as always, grey and orange tick a personal box for me. This is noticeably light, and this becomes a very apparent issue because once again, we've got plastic feet. This printer slides far too easily on smooth worktops and can even spin just when you're trying to loosen the bolt for the build plate. Definitely put this thing on some kind of silicon mat. The power socket and rocker switch are on the rear of the machine, and the USB port is located horizontally on the back right side. Another thing I like about these new Anycubic machines is that they give you access to much of the internals through a detachable door. More brands should really start taking maintenance access this seriously. The lid is a cheapo plastic lift-off affair and is guided into place by 4 rubber stoppers, the same sort of rubber that would have been great to use on the base of the feet. The build plate is laser etched for good adherence, and what I actually liked about how this was presented is that out of the box, I couldn't actually attach this to the Z-arm. To even have a chance of getting this to fit, I first had to loosen the bolts, and this is the first stage of the leveling process. I honestly hope that they've intentionally done this to force people to learn how to level the printer before they start printing, rather than let us assume it's pre-leveled only to encounter fails in the first print. Here, leveling goes back to the classic affair: loosen the bolts, attach the bed to the arm using the large bolt on top. In the UI, send the bed to the home position, hold the bed flat as you tighten alternating corners a quarter or half turn at a time. Then make sure you press Z equals 0 before leaving that menu. Some people have said you don't need to do this, but I've had printers where it's caused a problem if I don't. So it's not going to harm anything by pressing it, and I'm pretty sure it's something that it's best to do. So just do it. Press that. Looking at the VAT, this is rather appropriately sized for the machine and feels like it's either really cheap metal or it's plastic. I genuinely can't tell. But I am happy to see the presence of crystal clear ACF film, which will become more useful when I compare this printer to the Mono 4 Ultra. What I'm not so happy to see is the lack of a decent pour spout, so resin will run down the edge of the VAT and under the corner too, so it's messy and you need to wipe it off. And whilst it's not the VAT's fault, you will still get some resin runs sticking to the inside of the lid as it drips due to static attraction. And that term is also a good description of how most of my past romantic relationships started. Below the VAT is the screen. 10K is the claim, and whilst 10K isn't a real thing, math tells us this should really be 9600 by 5400 pixels. Here the display is 9024 by 5120, so just like most marketing regarding K something, it's in the ballpark, but it's not exact. It's actually closer to 9000. I'd be happier calling this a 9K screen, but you know, gotta up them numbers, marketing team. What it is a printer with 17 micron pixels. We're beyond splitting hairs at this point, but I'll show what this 10K does when we get to the print quality section, because the high resolution of this display is rendered a bit moot. The screen does give us the rather modest print area of 153 by 87mm, with a build height of 165mm. Now, because this machine is so bare bones in terms of features, the only other thing to talk about is the UI. This is very classic Anycubic. It's still mildly attractive and fairly intuitive. For a basic printer, all of the options for printing, testing, and moving the plate are clear and accessible, and you can even now edit print settings from the printer itself, a useful function for when you have fails and know a small settings change will resolve it. This saves fully reslicing the files, which can be handy at times. The mid-print UI is a bit small though, and visual priority is given to a render of each printed layer rather than details I personally find more useful to see from a distance, like remaining print time. As with all Anycubic printers I've ever tested, this one also supports the RERF feature, and this time I had to modify my usual exposure test to get it to fit into the available spaces on this small plate. But this feature lets us test multiple exposure time settings in 2.5 second increments. I've got a video on how to run this test properly because there's a bit of a knack to it, so please check out that for more info on getting this to work. After using this feature just once, I was able to dial in Frozen's hyperfine resin to around 1.2 seconds per 20 micron layer. And with that, I then printed the full exposure test so I can compare this to other printers. But what this shows me is that even with a 10K screen, prints on this are not the sharpest. In fact, I would directly compare them to the old Mono 2, which was 4K. I can see very little to no difference. With a balanced exposure, many of the recessed details are bloated and filled, and I expect that this is because whilst the LCD has been upgraded, the light source in this unit is still an old matrix LED array. And with these, UV light isn't as direct as it is with a cob light source, so you will get more bleed, bloat, and inconsistency across the surface. So here's the problem. I've been fighting against brands using K as a metric and said look at the pixel size, but this is now another printer that proves that even pixel size and K are only base metrics, a sum of a larger equation where it's the result we actually need the values of to directly compare printers for dimensional accuracy. We have now madly gone beyond the realm of diminishing returns from higher quality screens and into the realm of obscurity, where higher resolution screens are potentially making prints worse. Anycubic could have, and arguably should have, released a 4K machine which delivered the same print quality as this, if not a bit sharper, by adding a Fresnel lens or cob light source, whilst keeping the costs low with a cheaper display. But big number means more better. As we progress in this space, I can see, or at least hope, people will flock to the brands who sensibly list their metrics more intelligently than marketingly. Is that a word? You know what I meant, so it is now, marketingly. But actually, I'm still arguing this same proven and tired point just in search of the truth when, you know what, the prints on this look fine, like more than fine even. And on a cheaper printer where you'd expect fine, this is pretty damn good. It's why I'm glad I've always done these same tests on all my reviews, because I can now easily say, ignore the numbers, here, look at this. That's how accurate it is. But those lines are really starting to blur. So I'll just be saying good enough. And you know what? For most people, this is good enough. But so was Anti-Alias 2K. And that was cheaper. And in this video, I've done these models from Loot Studios, which aren't actually available yet. They're from their upcoming GameFound campaign for Malediction. This is going to be a tabletop board game, which is delivered in a way that I expect, or at least hope, is the future of miniatures-based games, where you can play the game with the standees in the box, or download and print the high quality minis yourself, or probably even buy them pre-printed if you want to. But the future is about people buying games and having the choice to play how they want without the added expense if they don't want it. And I think this is a great thing. It gives us choice in the future. It's fantastic. Anyway, check my links in the description for a free sample pack from Loot, and you can also sign up for their monthly sci-fi and fantasy bundles. Anyway, cheeky unsponsored but affiliate linkable ad segment aside, the printer. I hope it's clear that I don't hate it, I just think Anycubic could have been smarter here by leaving this as a 4K screen and spent some of that saved capital on some rubber feet and a vat with a decent spout shape, and kept the price down. At least then we would have had a sharp entry-level printer on the market at an entry-level price and the ability to use anti-aliasing. But we don't. We have this, which is fine. But Anycubic, flashy marketing will not fool us. Please stop it, especially when you are missing more important features of your printer. But that's for next time when we have a look at the Mono 4 Ultra. I want to say thanks for watching and a huge thanks to our members. If you do want to pick this up, then please consider clicking our affiliate links in the video description before you do. As I said, I'll be reviewing the Mono 4 Ultra next and then comparing these monos, and at some point comparing them to competing brands printers. So watch out for all of those videos and more. There's a reason there's a subscribe button there. Don't miss out, and the notification bell will tell you when new videos pop up. Right, we're done. There are so many printers being released at the same time. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, I don't have time to bleed. FauxHammer out.